In the hours following the tragic shooting at a synagogue in San Diego, California, some in the media, well, they took up a familiar refrain.
We have a president who not only will not acknowledge that we have an epidemic of white nationalist terror after New Zealand, he said just a few people, he's providing the mood music for it.
The blood that is spilled is on your hands. We are so past dog whistles now, Donald. You are just inciting violence.
What we have is a president who delegates violence, who calls on people to be violent, right? And so the violence comes to the forefront.
Well, that's disgusting, and it's shameless commentary. Following Christchurch, Sri Lanka, and the San Diego synagogue attack, we thought it was a good time to take a step back and speak to folks from different faiths. So here now, Ralph Reed, chairman of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, Rabbi Aryeh Sparrow, spokesman for the National Conference on Jewish Affairs, and Asra Nomani, co-founder of the Muslim Reform Movement and author of the book Standing Alone. Rabbi, I want to start with you, your reaction to the commentary by some, not everyone, but some all weekend long. I did hear a drumbeat, continued to this morning, that the president is somehow to blame for this attack on a synagogue in California. Is that how your community is viewing this tonight?
The chorus of what you just played is a chorus of liars. We're talking about a synagogue, a Jewish synagogue that was attacked. There is nobody, there has never been a president that has loved the Jewish people and supported Israel as Donald Trump had. Nothing Donald Trump could have ever said would have caused this. On the contrary, Trump is always supporting the Jewish people. He's lauding the Jewish people. He did that before he was even president. We all know that from New York City. What is so odious here is this group of people, none of them are known for being supporters of Israel or being supporters of the Jewish people. I've never heard of them as being somehow specially supportive of the Jewish people. Take some of them, for example. Yeah. There's one of them on there that is known for inflammatory rhetoric against the state of Israel. He's the person that we have to worry about.
Yeah, so the Trump blaming makes... Ralph, I got to get
absolutely.
You on this. How do the various religious communities, how can they come together after this spate of attacks on places of worship? I have to say, the synagogue, the Christchurch slaughter, the Easter Sunday Mass, as a Roman Catholic, and I was away last week, I cried. I was with someone who was actually friends with the father of the 3 children who died. He was beside himself. And I was sent pictures from people who were there. I feel extremely affected by this just as a person, but all of it's horrible. How do people come together after all this?
Well, I think a house of worship is a place of refuge. It's a place of love, a place of mercy, a place where we're to receive forgiveness and to be accepted by God as we understand Him to be. And for that place to be a place of violence, of ethnic hatred, in the case of Sri Lanka, of virulent Islamist anti-Christian bigotry, in the case of the attack on the San Diego synagogue this past weekend, Laura, virulent anti-Semitism, by the way, by a Trump-hating anti-Semite who said he hated Trump because he loved Jews and he loved Israel. So what can we do as men and women of faith? First of all, we can unite behind our common humanity. Second of all, we can assert the need to do whatever is necessary to resist religious bigotry and hatred in all of its ugly forms. Right. And we shouldn't try to use this to score cheap political points that are false, as was done to the president.
All right, Asra, we had those horrible comments about the president. We also had a thwarted Islamic attack in the United States, FBI. We had the New York Times cartoons, and I think we have both of them. Now, this was the offensive cartoon from a few days back, and then just a few days later, they had another cartoon that replaced the one that they sort of apologized for. Look at that one. So this is where we are. Like, what is going on here?
Well, I go back in history, in my own personal history. 17 years ago, when journalist Daniel Pearl was kidnapped and murdered, by one brand of anti-Semitism. 3 men walked into a room with a knife and a video camera and took Danny's life. That was one type of extremism from within my community. This past weekend, we had another type of extremism against a Jewish woman and her synagogue. So these are bookends on the same type of hate. And this idea of just looking at one aspect of hate in our world, to me, is so diminishing. And it doesn't include all that we need to do. For these 17 years in my Muslim community, I have said, this is our holy book, every verse and chapter in which we condemn the Jews or the Christians must go. We can't accept that kind of interpretation in the 21st century. And that young man who was arrested this weekend was a convert to Islam who wanted to attack more Jews. In the deposition, in the affidavit, they said that he wanted to attack the Yehudis. So, that's our Arabic word for Jews.
So he was a convert to Islam, but in the LA Times headline tonight it says Army combat vet. They don't refer to that.
And I watched Erin Burnett, and she didn't mention it. So what I'm saying is we have to all own up to our own extremism and challenge it. And that's how we'll have peace.
Rabbi, your close here. We have enormous suffering. We have an enormous problem on our hands. We have a radicalism problem. We obviously have some white nationalists out there who want to kill people as well. It's not Donald Trump people. When I hear that, it's despicable, but that's what's happening. Really quick, about 10 seconds from you, Rabbi, there.
That's all counterproductive. What we have to do is to see the good in each other, and we have to stop all of this blaming, and people should stop blaming the president and stop saying that the United States is a racist country. This is a wonderful country. We should see the good in this country, and that will bring the healing.
All right. All of you, thank you so much. A big conversation. As I said, we are going to be doing an hour just on faith in the United States and the need to protect it.